with the Amazing You podcast, and we are introducing my cousin. Her name is Michelle Benavides, and she is going to talk to us about personal development, personal transformation. And she's a trainer, a personal trainer, and she also works training people at work. So, Michelle, tell us a little bit more about you and your background, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me join your podcast. I really appreciate that. Well, my beautiful cousin said, Lisa Maldonado, my name is Michelle Benavides, and I work for the Air Force, and I help the Air Force manage their hazardous materials for the entire Air Force. So I kind of work with 180 Air Force bases throughout the world. But also I have a passion not only for helping the Air Force, but as well as physical fitness for everybody. So the point being is I actually started doing several like kickboxing classes, and then I was approached in regards to, hey, would you be willing to think about maybe teaching a class? You know, you're doing kickboxing. So I'm like, hey, sure, why not? Right, I'll try it. So, and I just immediately fell in love with it. Not only the pleasure that it gave people in regards to seeing the transformation, but they were having fun doing it, you know, the exercises.
Mm-hmm.
But then doing that throughout the years and all that was really rewarding. But I think the best part that I thought was really rewarding was when I actually, while I was working, when I moved out in the outskirts of San Antonio, I had, while at work, I was working at Lackland Air Force Base, and I decided, you know what? I said, if I could teach a class, maybe just free to the community, and while I'm here in town, you know, instead of sitting in traffic on, you know, out 281, I figure why not, you know, do physical fitness and teach a free class to the community for the city of San Antonio. So I actually got in touch with the city of San Antonio, and they were just fabulous. They have what they call fitness in the park. So what I ended up doing was I ended up telling them, you know, would it be possible that I could teach a class and, you know, for some physical fitness, and they were just really ecstatic about that. And they said, absolutely. So went through the whole, they had to do, of course, a background and everything, all that good stuff. But once I started teaching the class and they're like, okay, well, how much do you want to charge? I said, absolutely nothing. I said, I want to do it for the community. Not only am I going to get a good workout, but if I can help somebody else feel great in regards to working out and their doctor tells them that their lab works look beautiful, you know, then I feel much blessed that they were actually able to achieve that. So as I started teaching the class, and you know, the class started growing and everybody started hearing about it. And it was just the, you know, seeing these ladies, okay, everybody walks in this class and they're like, well, I can't do much. I'm like, okay, we're going to do the basics. And I said, remember, I always start out with, okay, ladies, remember, positive thoughts, there's no and can't is not part of our vocabulary. And you know, going into within that motto, you know, kind of thing, and that terminology, and I said, there's nothing you can't do. You know, you guys are amazing and fierce, and just kind of giving them those encouragement words just to, and pushing them, not physical, like really beating down on them. I'm talking more about verbally and just being there with them, and okay, give me 10 more seconds of, you know, this particular exercise or whatever. And then what's great is at the end of the actual session, you know, a lot of them, you know, women that were at a, you know, heavier weights, that they told me, oh my God, I cannot, this is seeing the accomplishment in their face, is them saying, I can't believe I did that. They said, I did that. I'm like, absolutely. I said, there's no rhyme or reason why, that, you can do anything you set your mind to. And just the
Mhm,
sense of accomplishment, a lot of them, then actuality, then I see that as, the class started growing,
mhm,
then I was like, okay, I could see that they were, I said, the best way that you guys can, really have just a sense of great community as it is each other. I said, talk to one another. And oh my God,
mhm,
we
mhm.
all kind of became really good friends.
Right,
And
right.
they just, there became a really good community. So I told them, okay, so different occasions I would show up with veggie trays. And of course, this was before COVID, when we were doing that. But,
Mhm, mhm,
where we had like a little get together, like after class. I said, okay, I'm going to
mhm.
beat you up first, and then, we'll
Uh-huh.
do the class, and then we'll celebrate. But, just seeing them, and some of these ladies were like, I don't really get out. I don't really have any friends. By the
Mhm,
time, the whole fitness in the park was, said and done, they were just such good friends, and they had just, bonded with each other. And now that not only were they attending my class, but they were attending the other fitness classes. So it was such
that's
a
good.
reward to see that that's how they saw themselves. That's how they started. And then they just started really just getting into fitness. And I hear from them now, and they're like, you know what, Michelle, I'm so glad that you pushed me and to doing what, you did. They said, because now I've, done just phenomenal. I feel good about myself. I am,
Mhm,
exercising more, and I've made new friends because of all this. And
mhm,
and I still keep in contact with them. I know the classes that for fitness in the park haven't started yet,
mhm,
because of the whole COVID thing. But
mhm,
in the interim, I know, we'll get past this, but once that classes start up again, it is just so rewarding. And I just tell
mhm,
people out there, there's nothing they can't do, and just think positive thoughts. And even though, we may be at a, circumstance where we feel, well, I can't, say, wait a minute. We always can start somewhere. And regardless if
exactly,
it's,
exactly.
from,
Mhm,
it started out 5 minutes a day. Eventually it'll, increase. And not only that, but you just feel so much better. And, I think
mhm.
just having that sense of, I don't know, gets it's a really rewarding for me to see the joy in their faces and
Yeah,
stuff. But
absolutely, yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
and then so many people are intimidated, about doing stuff like that just because it's new to them or they haven't done it before and they
right,
have preconceived notions of what it's going to be like. But I
right,
think that building your support group, like you were saying, just building community within that group, so many people are, wanting a sense of affirmation or affiliation within the group. And the affirmation comes when they start seeing change and then they build momentum and they want to keep going. And then the affiliation
absolutely,
piece is so, so important because when you do things by yourself, it's so hard to keep going. But when you have an accountability partner or someone that you're doing it with alongside them, that makes it so much easier to keep going and continue to go to class. And then just talking to each other, hey, I lost, how many pounds, or, I know a lot of it is habits, just getting rid of your
exactly,
bad habits and building good habits. So I know like
yes,
here in San Antonio, we have such a big population of people who are diabetic. And so
hmm,
diabetes is just a really rampant here in San Antonio. And so many of them, the nutrition piece is such a hard piece for them. I know for me, I'm a diabetic myself and I'm on insulin and I'm also taking the metformin and a lot of other pills. But it was really difficult for me to figure that piece out, the nutrition piece, the like how much of this and how much. And I truly felt like the biggest part was portion control. controlling
Right.
the portions of what we ate. But the exercise piece was something that, I avoided doing because I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel like I was good at it. And like you said, you come in saying, oh my God, I can't do it. And I can totally relate to those ladies who said that. Like, okay, I
Yeah.
haven't done this before and this is new to me and that kind of thing. But you're right. You got to walk them past that proficiency barrier, start them somewhere, and then just build up from there, which is
Absolutely.
perfect because you're scaffolding the learning. And so
Oh,
many of them
absolutely.
need that. They need you to meet them where they're at first and then move from there. And that's perfect.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, even as well as, there's some, you know, other, adults that they're like, you kind of talk and tell your stories and that kind of stuff. And then, we get into, and I tell them, I said, you know, just because you look at me and you're like, oh, Michelle's physically fit. And I told them, I said, the only, oh, totally honestly. And I told them, I said, the only reason I maintain the way I do, I said, I don't have a choice. I said, I have a son that's autistic. I need to be here for him for the rest of my life. I
Absolutely.
can't afford not to not to be here. And
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
only that, but, recently I just found out that I was born with only one kidney.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that just intensified, my eating habits as well, and
Hmm.
like I tell everybody, I said, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I love if you put a bowl of Gessler dip in front of me with some chips, I will devour that. Okay.
Yeah. So will I. And with a margarita. No.
With the margarita,
Yeah.
exactly.
But it's
So I'm like,
hard. It really is hard to do that. I mean, we want to make conscious choices and we want to make, be intentional in our actions, but there are times where, you let loose and enjoy, I know I do. I
exactly.
mean,
And you
being diabetic, the
do.
alcohol is not good, but it turns into straight sugar. But there are times where you want to just have a drink and enjoy,
Just have
your
fun.
time with the
Mhm.
people with you.
Enjoy life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
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 I'm the same
And I
way.
know.
And I totally get it. Yeah.
Mhm. So in our podcast, Michelle, we talk a lot about working through adversity and then having situations where there wasn't something that was planned, or maybe it was something that was not a good thing that happened, but you learn from it and you gain so much that you take that knowledge and then you share it with others. And I know you touched on the fact that you have a son with autism. And I want you to tell us a little bit about how that affected you personally, because I'm sure that was something completely new, at the time when he was diagnosed and things like that. And what kind of things have you done to help you support your own emotional state? Because I know it's hard when you or a caregiver and you're giving of yourself to someone, but what kind of things do you do to kind of keep yourself in a positive state of mind, and in that way, like you said, you can be there and be a good resource for them?
Oh, absolutely. At the beginning, I was, of course, we're devastated, to know that,
Right.
okay, he's got this diagnosis. Now what? Oh my God. Will
Right.
he be, they say normal, right? Well, who's normal, right? I'm not, right?
Right. Yeah, me either.
But
Yeah, me either.
just being the fact able to live in this world, when I'm gone or when we're, just that kind of aspect. I was just like, just completely devastated. But then I had told her just like, you know what, Michelle, the the negativity in my head and just saying, oh my God, this, he's never going to be able to do this kind of thing. I just had to like really just push myself and say, you know what, this isn't helping at all for
Right.
him
Right.
to get better. So
Mhm.
I ended up just, you know what? I said, I'm just going to start reading. And just, I'm going to just do whatever I can to advocate for him. If I actually ended up, and to make me feel better, if
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
knew that I was trying different treatments, different techniques, different, exercises, therapy sessions, whatever the case may be. You
Mhm.
know, one thing might have helped a little bit, another didn't help at all. And regardless the cost, I was like, I'm going to do it.
Right.
And, you know, and you hear that, you know, some individuals it helped and some didn't. I said, you know what, I'm willing to give it a shot. Right.
Right.
But
Exactly.
to really, that really helped me, like just really push and to get past of the he's never gonna be able to get married kind of thing, you know, and just I just kind of I pray a lot and I
Mhm.
just, you know,
Mhm.
pray to Jesus that he give me the strength
Right.
and to just advocate and to really push for, you know, my son um and prayer really works. And
It does. It
not
does.
only that, but you know, and just being present and being there for him to, you know, do different therapies, get him involved into different activities and that kind of stuff. As long as see him progressing, you know, but
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, there are days where, you know, he may have a meltdown or and then, you know, I want to like crumble, you know, but
Mhm.
for the most part, you know, I just, you know, I kind of like, Lord, give me the strength where, you know, I can really, you know, push myself to be there for him. But, you know, I just tell people, you know, they're like, well, and you know, it's really, I think the one thing that always bothered me that people said, and I'm sure other parents of autistic children or adults with autism will say, you know, and I tell people I have a child with autism, people are like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, you know,
Oh, I
and I'm
know. No, I know.
like, "I'm
No, I get
sorry.
it.
I'm like,
No, I
you know,
get
I'm
it.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
yeah,
there
just
was
don't be
it
sorry.
reminds me of this poem, and it was when I first went into special ed, I think it was like in maybe early 2000s, and it was a poem, and it talked about someone who wanted to go to Paris, but
Mhm,
they didn't make it to Paris, or they never got there, and they ended up in Holland. And
mhm.
they talked about, if you sit there and you grieve about, hey, I couldn't make it to Paris, I didn't see the Eiffel Tower and things like that. But then, if you're stuck there in that mindset and you miss the tulips and the windmills and everything of Holland, which you have right there with you,
Just the
because you're
beauty that's
grieving.
right in front of you. Yeah,
Exactly. And I think that's how life is sometimes. We end up so upset about something that didn't happen the way we wanted it to, but then we're not embracing the beauty of what we have now, what you and appreciate
exactly.
what you have with you. And so
It's
I,
so true
yeah,
because
it's just, your
yeah, because
mindset.
you know,
Yeah.
one time I'll never forget, and you know, I kind of when I feel like sometimes where I'm, you know, not I like it's a little stressed, but you know, just like the pressure, you know,
Hmm.
I always think back to I'll never forget the time that when I found out, you know, I was pregnant with Austin. Of course, you
Hmm.
know, Jesus knew that he was going to be autistic, right? I
Hmm.
didn't, of course.
Hmm.
And I remember being in church in tears, praying, say, God, give me some answers to what to do, you know, whether to keep him, whether to, you know, just making all these choices. And, you know, being that I was so young, well, not that young, but, you know, my 20s at the time. And, you know, I'll never forget that the priest, um, all of a sudden, he started his sermon. He started talking about, you know, how if you were if you know about children and he's like, you know, if you're pregnant, you know that God gave you this child for a reason and he needs to be born and there's a
Uh-huh.
reason for him being and so he was talking all about, you know, the about how, you know, you should if you're pregnant you should be giving, you know, give this child birth or give him
Hmm.
life. And after church I remember I went up to him and I told him, can I ask you something? He says yes. And I asked him, I said, why is it that you started talking about, you know, giving birth and not, you know, if you're pregnant, they should be given life. And, you know, you have this child, you're giving this child life for a reason. God wants him into this world.
Hmm.
And he says, you know what? He says, Jesus spoke to me, he goes, look, I'm going to show you right now. He goes, my sermon, it's nothing. This is what I was not going to talk about. This. I wasn't going to talk about giving
Mhm.
birth. And I just started bawling. And I said, thank
We
you,
had
Lord.
we had something like that happen just 2 nights ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because it's just like you said, I think God knows what he's doing. I heard a knock at the door and it was like three knocks, like real fast. And I thought, okay. And we were sitting at the kitchen table, which is real close to the living room. And I thought, I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody. And we had some things happening in the neighborhood that, kind of worried about it. So my brother lives, a couple houses down. And I said, hey, I heard three knocks distinctly, clearly loud knocks, three knocks like that. And I said, and I looked and there's nobody. I checked the cameras because we have a camera system and nothing. And he says, well, let me step outside. So he goes outside and it's dark already, it's like probably 9:30 maybe. And he goes outside and he says, there was this car parked there. Oh, he called me back later and he says, there was this car parked there. And I was like, I didn't recognize the guy. And I'm like, can I help you? And the guy's like, it's me. And he goes, and I really couldn't get a good look, it was dark. And I didn't want to get too close and stuff. And he says, and it was an old friend of Raul's from way back when. And he had moved to Mexico and then came back. And he came to try to talk to Raul because he said he just wanted someone to talk to. And that the son had hung himself, he committed suicide. Yeah. And so my brother's like, I am so sorry. Like you don't have the words, right, for
Right.
something like that. But isn't that crazy? Because if I had not called him about the knocks, he'd have never come
Right.
outside.
You
And the
you
dogs
would
wouldn't
have
have let him
never.
in the yards. So he
Yeah.
wouldn't have, been able to speak to him. And he said,
Oh my God.
yeah, he says, isn't that crazy how that happens? And I said, I honestly felt like I needed to call you because it wasn't a big
Yeah.
deal, it was a knock, right? But I thought, no, let me call him. And I'm glad
Yeah.
that happened. He said that the services are going to be on the 3rd and stuff like that. But it's amazing
Wow.
how
It
when,
is.
you're in that state, and your higher power somehow intervenes. And like when you talked about
Exactly.
that wasn't his sermon, that wasn't going to be his speech, wasn't going to be about that. But, you know,
Exactly.
and it's just
And
the right
it,
time.
yeah, exactly. And and the thing is, I see how important that was now, and I think,
Mhm.
he knew he was going to be autistic and he knew I was strong enough
I was
to
just gonna say,
be
I think
advocate
he
for him.
chooses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
picks and chooses just the right people. I went to a church and it wasn't our normal church, but they were talking. It was a Mother's Day sermon, and she was talking. It was a female pastor, and she was talking about women being a diadem. Like a crown, like a crown with jewels. And she says, she had two sons, and one was really quiet, very studious, and just never really caused any trouble. Then
Mhm.
she had the other son who was the exact opposite, and she
Mhm.
says, you know what? But God knew that when He gave me whatever the son's name was, because I don't want to say it. But
Yeah.
anyway, she says He knew He picked me because that kid would drive anybody else crazy. But she said, I stuck with him. I stuck with him, and we got through high school. He graduated, he got through
Yeah.
college and all that. But he, she says he gave me hell. I mean, in the meantime,
Right.
but she says, but I gained so much from it because, she learned more about herself in dealing with all those situations and all those
Right.
things that happened. And you do, when you're faced with adversity and things like that, you do learn more about yourself and how strong you really are. Because, at the time, like you
Absolutely.
said, you're just devastated. You're like, how can this be, when you're dealing with something at first. But then later on, you can look back and think, I made a difference, and I feel good about what I'm doing as far as, like advocating and things like that. And
Yeah,
you learn more about
absolutely.
your own strength,
Oh,
and what you're
absolutely.
capable of.
And then to find out, that's why I'm like, there's a reason for everything because then, you know, me and my husband try to have children and well, guess what? I can't have any more kids. I had
Mhm.
endometriosis. So, you know,
Uh-huh.
had I, and I think back, I'm like, thank you, Jesus, because just think if I didn't have him, I wouldn't even know what it'd be like to be a mom, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
he had a plan, so I
Exactly.
think,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, exactly. And, he
Mhm.
you know, gain all this knowledge. But yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, with Austin, oh, let me say his name. But with my son, he's come a long way. I'll never forget. They'll if whatever doctors tell you, when they're younger, hey, we caught his autism at a later age. Most likely, he'll never speak. That's what I was told. But I was like, I don't take that, you know, full, to,
No, yeah, you
I don't
shouldn't.
take it for full. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try everything I can just so at least he can start speaking. And, even if it's concrete words or, if you're, a couple phrases here and there, but at least he's able to
Yeah.
comprehend, which we were, he's done really well. And I mean, he's happy and, full of
Yeah.
life
No.
and he's healthy. So I mean,
Yeah.
as
Yeah. Thank
long
God.
as
Yeah.
I can, thank God. But as long
Yeah.
as, I can just maintain the um and advocate for him, I will continue.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
will,
Exactly.
but yeah, things have
No.
been good though. But I
Hmm.
just tell people, you know, like you mentioned, there's look at the flowers that were right in front of you,
Uh-huh.
before it passes by or it dies. You can see he's all
No, you're
laughing.
right. No, that's good. No, no, but it's so true. I mean, I am grateful for the little, I mean, that I have. I don't have a whole lot, but what I do have, I'm very grateful for it. And I do think that God looks at that. And if you show gratitude, I think he blesses you with more. And
Oh,
that's just something that, I think we should do anyway, because, sometimes we think we have it tough, but then you look at someone else's situation, it's, a lot more serious than what, we're complaining about. And I know I deal with a lot of people that are from other countries and they come here and they tell me, y'all are so good, lucky. And, that your country gives you, is here to help you. And that he goes, where we're from, we don't get that. And I look at that and I think, we're so
we are very
blessed, to
blessed.
have, what we have and the support that we have around us, because not everybody has that support, that positive group of people to help you and support you in your needs and things like that. So no, and I
Oh,
know family is so important. I know that when you're going through tough times, sometimes that's all you can count on, because they
yeah,
understand you at your very core, where other people don't, and they know you just the way you are, and they accept you just the way you are. So no,
absolutely.
yeah, no, I am so glad that you're doing that with the physical fitness. I think that's something that's very needed, especially in our community. I need to motivate myself to do that, because I keep saying I'm going to, but I haven't followed through. And it's one of those things, where you just, you what because you don't feel like you're good at it. But
Right.
but yeah, you got to start somewhere, and and scaffold it
Exactly.
from there. So
Oh
yeah, well,
yeah.
once those
So
things start, you have to let me know when those
I
are.
will. I'll
Yeah, because
definitely let you know, and then just
yeah,
spread the word. And it's free,
yeah,
so which
yeah,
is
and
great.
that's a good thing, because I know I've bought memberships to like gyms and stuff, but I never have time to go. And I really just, by the time I get home after doing everything that I have to do, I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym. Like, I just want to go to
Yeah,
take a shower, go to bed. But that's
exactly.
not healthy, that's not healthy. But I thought, you know what, I don't want to spend a whole lot of money doing all of that, but I need to find a routine that I can get into. Because it makes a difference. Your cardiovascular system, your endorphins, you feel better and you have more energy and that kind of thing, especially for someone who's diabetic. And
Yeah.
but no, I just admire all of that. Um, well, Michelle,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being on the show and being on the podcast,
Absolutely. Thank
because I think that it was a good opportunity to get to hear all of that. And then I'm sure there's a lot of people who can resonate with, the things that we're talking about. And I do think that people need to be grateful for what they have, and make the best of the resources that you have around you, and take advantage, like
Absolutely.
you said, of things that are out there, especially if they're free, and they're good for you physically.
Yes. And
So,
even like for the autism community, there's so much out there for, you know, little kids, right? But
Uh-huh.
for the adults with autism,
Mhm.
they're kind of like forgotten kind of thing,
It's
because
harder.
they
Yeah,
forget,
it's harder.
they forget that those kids grow up to be adults.
Exactly.
And one thing
Exactly.
that I do have to give total thumbs up to is Eva's Heroes. So
Mhm,
Eva's
mhm,
Heroes, my son attends, their activities. You have to be an adult in order to
mhm,
attend those. But
mhm.
Eva Longoria is amazing because her
Wow.
sister actually has a disability.
Uh-huh.
So she funds for all these activities, to Spurs games, from
Wow.
all sorts of different activities. They'll go do top golf, they'll do
Wow, that's awesome.
dances, the
Uh-huh.
rodeo, they do all sorts of stuff just so they can commingle and be friend and make friends, and
Mhm,
just have
mhm.
social. We don't
Yeah,
want, as adults, we don't want them locked up in a room, kind of thing. We need to
exactly.
put them
No,
out there and just,
I get like that. I get cabin fever after a while. I was like, okay, I gotta get out of here. And
yeah,
even if it's
exactly. But
just
there's so much out there. We just have
mhm.
to really, just, kind of look for it. But yeah, there's just so much out there, and hopefully with the adults wise, being the adults with autism, hopefully there's a little more besides just your average daycare kind of thing, get them, a little
To
bit
be
more
more
out.
interactive. Yeah, that for sure. Maybe that's
Absolutely.
something that we can look into too, because I'm sure there's you're not the only one. I'm sure there are other people who want the same resources. So,
Absolutely.
mhm.
No,
Well, thank
definitely.
you for being on, Michelle. I really appreciate it. I know I didn't give you much notice and stuff, but I
No,
really
that's
think you did
okay.
an awesome job, and we did cover a
Yeah.
lot. So I'm glad. So hopefully we'll have you on again sometime, and invite you
Sure.
back on. Yeah.
Okay, sounds
Thank you
good.
so
Well, thank
much.
you and God bless you.
Thank you. You
Love you,
too. Thank
everybody.
you so much.
Stay
Thank
safe
you.
and healthy. Okay.
You too. Thank you.